have we been recording this whole time?
We've been hot micing it the whole time.
Shit.
You've been snorting. You've been saying everything. That was something you said at the start.
Do we want to swear in this podcast? I was thinking about
Absolutely.
it. Oh, we are?
Wait, can we not?
Oh, I don't know. Do you want to?
That was my main worry. I was like, wait, are you censoring me on my podcast?
Well, I don't know if you want to or not.
I'm gonna say everything.
Okay. Wait, what?
If somebody's upset that I'm saying the frick word, then
Frick them, am I right?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, I think we need to be able to distinguish who's talking right now for the people who don't know who you are.
There's no way.
John
Everyone
is
knows
the
me.
British one, and I'm Jack, and I'm the chill ass viber, the cool guy. But basically, why'd you look at me like that?
Huh?
The plan of this podcast, I know we made like 3 podcasts previously, and all of them, they haven't failed. We just stopped doing them.
We just stopped doing them.
We basically were like, we
had
need
no premise, I think was the problem.
yeah, we needed
We
like
just
a
sat down and
purpose
talked.
for the podcast,
Yeah.
and so that's why we're making this podcast. This is basically just like the trial version of it to gauge reactions and see how people feel. Basically, the plan of this one is going to be a history comedy podcast, which is why we're going to say so many frick and shits and
Frick and shit.
yes. What was I saying? Yeah, history comedy podcast. We're occasionally going to talk about political things that go on. The plan of
Current
this,
things.
yeah, current.
Just pre-warning.
Yeah.
There will be conversations about current events happening.
I know that we mentioned like history comedy, and the plan is that when it's a serious political thing that like is going on currently, we're not going to be making jokes about it. Just
There might be there may be an occasional joke. There
Damn,
may be an
that's pretty
occasional joke, but not in a moment that could be deemed as very disrespectful. Let's put it that way.
yeah. So the plan is that mainly history, because John studying to be a history teacher.
Yes.
Explain.
What do you mean?
Why history teacher?
Why history teacher?
You're a big history guy.
Yeah, I am. Em still can't hear. Em still doesn't know what's going on. Em can't get through a page.
Yeah.
Previously. Yeah.
It's going to be a mess.
It's all right. We're enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
Like history to a lot of people is really boring. A lot of people are like, "Yuck, history," right? Like, what's the point in learning about the past? I'm trying to get my bread up.
Trying to get
and
my
think about-
bag.
I'm trying to get my bag and think about the future. What a lot of people don't realize is that history teaches us infinite amount of lessons, right? Both good and bad. There's plenty of very important things that were decided and done in history that caused pretty much the world that we live in now. And I think, unfortunately, especially the generation that I live in, the history is just such a second, third, even fourth thought to a lot of people, when it's really one of the most important and like guiding things on the planet. There's so many lessons from history that reflect very strongly in why so many things go wrong now.
Yeah.
The reason that there are so many people uneducated about the past, and then they do things like fall into circles that realistically cause a lot more damage than good, but they don't realize it because they haven't seen the history behind those things and the repetition in it and things like that. Things like, it sounds silly, right? But fashion always comes around in circles, right? So like we always come back to 60s, 70s, 80s, early 2000s, and then it does a full circle again.
I'm wearing a multicolored MTV
Exactly,
hoodie right now.
right? Like, and like I remember, I think it was last year, there was a bunch of very popular Australian outlets that were doing like 60s like flower power stuff.
Oh yeah.
Was it Supre? I don't remember. Cotton On. It was Cotton On. They had this massive like 60s flower power thing. I don't
think
know
I
why.
remember that.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of people in public wearing it. And history, funnily enough, is very similar in that it always comes back around. Unfortunately, in current circumstances, places
In a
like
bad way.
conflict in the Middle East and things like that, and in Eastern Europe and stuff, unfortunately, it's come around again in a bad way, and like a standing awful position in the Pacific between China and the US. It's a circle. China and the US is the exact same the circumstance that happened in like the Cold War, for instance, which was not even that long ago, but it's come full circle again. The rise in things like far like apart political ideologies, things like Nazism, It's come back around again as well. A
Which is
rise
crazy
in it,
to me.
especially in Europe. It's a problem, but what I'm trying to say is I want to learn history. I want to teach history because I believe it's important that people don't make the same mistakes and that they learn the good things too. Like,
I guess,
why do we all think about the Roman Empire so much? What's going on with that?
I guess the main thing was that, like, when I was taught history, I was taught about the French Revolution, and I was like, I don't.
If only
give a
we had
shit.
one of those now, though. My goodness, how fun would that be?
Yeah, I mean, like,
Just cut someone's head off. Why not?
yeah, if only we had the ability to cut somebody's head off.
Yeah, God, how much better this country would be.
I guess that was the thing, was I never paid attention to history. I mean, I didn't pay attention in any class. I'm just like you guys. You guys listening, I'm just like you.
Not paying attention right now.
Yeah, this is why
Are
John's
you listening
here.
right now?
Bro, do I need to put on Subway Surfers? We need to put on
Every clip of this podcast on TikTok will have Subway Surfer or a slime video at the end.
slime video. I guess there's another thing to mention is we don't have video recording for this at the moment.
Not yet.
The plan is this is going to be the little trial podcast. It's not going to go for as long as the regular one. Maybe it will, depending on just how we feel. Basically, the plan of this is that I don't know shit, and John knows a lot of shit, and he likes learning about shit. And I like when John explains to me in Fortnite terms, and that's why we wanted to make this podcast, because we both feel that we needed some sort of like purpose for the podcast.
Crutch. Something that when we're not talking about our own things, we have something to lean on as like a major topic.
Yeah.
To still drive the kind of thing. And I think it builds interest too. People might want to learn along with us.
Yeah.
If you want to learn along with us, send in some stuff if you happen to know or have questions about something. Even in later podcasts, this will always carry. But if you do have something you want us to discuss or read about or learn or teach, coming from me or Jack, because Jack does know stuff, little does he know. He does. He's making a face right now, but he definitely does. If there's stuff that you want us to talk about, just let us know. And, just DM him. Don't DM me. I won't read it. That's a lie. I probably will. But you'll be able to have his connections easier than mine.
I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're listening to the podcast, we will probably mention in like the caption or the comments or description or whatever, like where you can send in stuff, whether it's like Discord, whether it's a DM, whether it's like the comments or something, because we still don't know where we're going to put this out. It'll probably just be like an unlisted video somewhere.
Eventually though, baby, Spotify deal.
Spotify deal. We're going to be right under Joe Rogan, and he's going to be talking about doing DMT, and we're going to be talking about why DMT was invented.
Yeah. We're going to just ride the coattails, baby, all the way to the stars. Let's go.
So we mentioned it already. John, I want you to lie me down. I want you to look in my eyes. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Legitimately every day.
Which is crazy to me, because this came up a little while ago. We're kind of late to it, but we're still going to talk about it while it's like a relatively fresh topic.
And if you're watching this in 2 years... I don't know what the hell is going on.
John's probably still thinking about the Roman Empire.
Every day.
So I have never thought about the Roman Empire, and this was one of the very first topics we wanted to cover. Because
there's no way you've never thought about it.
I don't know what the fuck the Roman Empire is.
You're actually lying. There's no way.
This is why we're making the podcast, is because I don't know what the Roman Empire is, and I've never thought about it, and that's why.
That is crazy.
John asked me during like the height of this meme, he was like, Jack, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And I said, what is that?
And I followed it with, would you still love me if I was a worm?
Yeah. And I said yes and no. But you can...
Sorry, man.
Did you kick him?
Just kick the dog.
Oh. But yeah, I guess that's one of the main topics we wanted to cover in this episode, in the pilot, is... Yeah, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? You already answered that. Every single day.
Every single day.
And why and what is it?
Okay, well, that's a very broad question, because it covers
what is Roman?
It covers like 1,000 years of human history, almost 2.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Well, the Roman Empire wasn't always an empire. It was a republic to begin with. It was actually a kingdom, and then it was a republic, and then an empire, and then a republic again, and then an empire. It went real back and forth. But why do I think about it every day? Because they did everything, man. They had everything.
I feel like you said, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth and make you seem stupid.
Yeah.
Maybe it was somebody else that said this. Roman Empire is the reason we have mobile phones.
I definitely didn't say that.
Somebody
that's
said
mental.
that.
What the fuck?
Somebody said that somewhere, and that's why I wanted to.
Yeah, Caesar, DM me later. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? No.
Like Roman Empire was like the foundation of like everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the foundation of what we consider Western society was the Roman Empire. Yeah.
Right.
Like Latin, for instance, which is obviously the thing that the language they spoke. It's still used now, especially in scientific circles. You know, every animal has its own Latin name. There are many like Latin names and numbers. The counting system we use is Arabic, and then the letters we use are English. So I don't think we use their like literacy style anymore. Things like maths, for instance, in general, was created by both the Greeks and the Romans. A lot of what we consider to be Roman is actually Greek, like ancient Greek, even down to their gods were very, very similar because much of Rome's society was influenced by the Greeks.
That was a thing. I feel like I've heard people like arguing about who is the god of what, and is that because of that? Like,
well, it's like Poseidon, for instance, is obviously the god of the seas. For Rome, it was Neptune. Now, the Romans took the Greek gods and renamed them based on the planets, but they're the exact same.
right.
So Mars is the god of war, and for Greece, his name is Ares.
Kratos.
No,
Oh.
Kratos is the guy that kills the gods. No, I think it's Ares. But yeah, so they named it after like the planets and stuff. So the Romans, the whole Roman god pantheon, practically, quote unquote, I'm paraphrasing here because I'm pretty sure there were many that might have been independent, but the big ones were just Greek. Down to even their like dress and their garb, all Greek. Their old fighting styles, like before the whole like what you consider a Roman outfit now with the big shield and all the metal clad.
Yeah,
stuff.
just think about Skyrim Whiterun guards.
Yeah. So not quite. More like Solitude. Like the Imperials. So like the Imperials in Skyrim, that was like late Roman or late Roman Empire, or like a high Roman Empire, I should say, because late Roman Empire they looked more like they're what's called scaled armor. Where it's like it literally looks like a dragon scale.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's like cover their body. It was a lot easier to be maneuverable, but the Romans changed their armor based on their opponents. Very smart. They changed their fighting styles too. But yeah, anyway, why do I think about the Roman Empire every day? Because they did everything. The reason we have the idea of like water running is like aqueducts, which they made, which was bringing water down from mountains. It meant that cities could be built inland. Because before the Romans, a lot of cities had to be built on a river, or they had to be built on the sea.
Right.
Because otherwise a city wouldn't have water.
Yeah.
But the Romans realized that they could just bring water down from any mountain because, of course, mountains are covered in fresh snow and always raining and things like that. They're up in the clouds. Water always runs down from there. That's where we get like spring water from now. It just runs down from mountains. But what they did is they built these giant, huge waterways, almost like pipes, but they were open. And they brought the water down into the cities. Rome itself existed off of water, an aqueduct. Sewer systems as well, toilets even, all invented by the Romans. We lost it all in the Dark Ages, but they did it first. There were public toilets though, which is a bit wow. You just wipe your ass with a sponge on a stick in front of the boys, you know.
So what you're saying is nothing's changed.
Nothing. Yeah, of course. No, nothing at all. But yeah, they did it. Roads even like every, you know, the saying like all roads lead to Rome.
Yeah.
It's because the Romans built practically what we now consider most roads.
Right.
Obviously we've built a lot more now, but all the roads that connected practically all of Europe were built by the Romans.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, well, I think about it all the time. It's weird. I do think about it all the time. It's strange. Like the fact that this has come up, and I didn't quite realize that everyone, well, a lot of other people think about it all the time as well.
Now, is the whole like, is that as well as like, wanting to learn a lot about history? Is that because of playing Mappies, or is that did wanting to learn history make you play Mappies games, or was it the other way around?
So when I was a kid, obviously I was English, right?
Mhm.
So I still am. I don't know why I said a past tense.
I came out as Australian.
I
I grew out of it.
I grew out of it. Yeah, I'm British. Yeah, so my dad was very into World War II. And especially as a British child in the time that I grew up, it might be a little different now, but when I grew up, it was it World War II is still very ingrained in the British people. We still have the same kind of mentality where it's like just keep your head down and keep going kind of mentality, which is where the keep calm and carry on posters came from. It was World War II propaganda.
That's crazy.
During the Blitz. Because obviously the UK was being flattened by the German Air Force, and it was very much the mentality of just keep going, just keep calm, keep going, we'll get through it kind of mentality. And that's still the mentality that Britain has now. It's very much carried over. So when I was a kid, I learned a lot about World War II. I learned it in history class. I learned it from my dad. I grew up watching World War II documentaries with my parents. And when I started on World War II, there's only so much you can learn. So I just kept going. And I went backwards and forwards. And I just learned a lot about history. And I just grew up around it. And so I learned to love it. And I really just dove into it. Especially in the UK. For some reason, compared to Australia, history is far more important to learn. I don't know why in the curriculum and things like that. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. I feel like, I guess
you'd rather just be playing downball with the boys out here.
I guess how it feels here is it's like Australia, and I'm using air quotes right now. Australia like doesn't have history, which is like the thing that literally like it feels like. I guess
it's a young Western country, history based.
Yeah.
Federated in 1901, barely 100 years old in the Western world eyes. However, it does have the oldest recorded indigenous population on the planet.
Right.
So.
And I think that's it. Is it's like from like the Western world kind of thing. Like
you're a young country still.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
It's like the only thing I knew about, which I wasn't even taught, was the Emu War.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
I don't know how many emus they killed. I think it was one. And they expended like 100,000 rounds or something.
How many humans did the emus kill?
I don't know.
2?
They might have used chemical warfare, though, I heard.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Not again.
Not again. Let me look at the emu war. Let me look at the statistics of the emu war.
Because that's something that I got taught from American people.
So the emu war lasted a month.
That's a
they killed 986 emus and they wounded 2,000 of them.
Right.
But the emu medics were able to save those 2,000. There were multiple attempts, apparently. The machine gunners dreams of point blank fire were soon dissipated when the Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics, and its unwieldy army soon split up into innumerable small units that made use of military equipment.
Am I going insane right now?
They obviously didn't.
Are you telling me there was one emu that was wearing like a helmet with like
2 stars on it? He's the commander. Dwight D. Emu Hauser. Yeah. All my World War II buddies will find that very funny that I just made that.
I would have found that funny if I knew anything about World War II.
Well, there was a general called Dwight D. Eisenhower, and they called him Dwight D. Emu Hauser.
That's good.
I know, I'm so funny.
I wish I could have given you the confirmation by laughing at
Thanks, man.
Nothing hurts more than when you have to explain a joke to somebody.
There might be a bit of that in this podcast, unfortunately. The Emu War was definitely a thing. It was just an extermination thing. Australia's done plenty of that in his history. Exterminating people they considered part of the flora and fungi. Very interesting. Right, might not be worth getting this out on the first podcast, to be honest.
No, we're talking about the light-hearted topics and wiping your ass with a sponge in front of the boys.
Well, that's what they did in Rome. They had public bathrooms, and it was a sponge on a stick that you rubbed on your butthole. And then you dipped it in a bucket.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Bro, isn't like...
And they'd empty the bucket at the end of every day.
Ew.
Yeah.
I feel like a caveman now because I don't have a bidet. Like, I feel like the
friendship got to you as well, eh?
the promotion and marketing of bidets has become like, it feels so common. It feels like every like
Posh bougie place.
Yeah, like posh bougie Puss in Boots place has like like every content creator, it feels like, has a bidet. They always talk about a bidet, and like
they've got a watered ass.
Yeah, wiping with toilet paper just feels
poor.
Yeah, it feels poor to have toilet paper, which is crazy because, as John has just explained, you used to wipe your ass with a sponge on a stick and wash it at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that was like a couple of thousand years ago at this point.
It still feels like yesterday.
Yeah, true. I suppose that is why I think about it every day. It's more nostalgia than anything.
Nostalgia. You're reminiscing.
I see a road and I'm like, oh, my heart.
Well, like, even like toilet paper's so dry though.
Just spit on it.
Step away from the mic. We're ending this right now. Gross. No, yeah, I think the whole Roman Empire thing really stunned me. I was like, why do people think about it so much?
It's actually crazy that you don't know, like,
because I know zero things about history. The only thing I know about history is that the Cold War was a thing. Like, I know the title, the Cold War, and I know that King Louis XVI was guillotined.
You said it correctly.
Yeah, because I was told by my history teacher that it's a guillotine and not a guillotine.
That's not a guillotine. Yeah,
well,
that's like saying, well, what was what I was saying before? Quesadilla.
Oh yeah,
quesadilla. Is it a quesadilla?
Yeah,
tortilla.
But that's what I mean. It's like, I did not care. Like, I think I was trying to explain to you, like, oh yeah, during the Russian Revolution, there were like some bad people that did bad things. Couldn't explain to you.
You said
anything.
Bolsheviks, and I was like, yeah, that was the Soviet party, and you were like, oh.
But the thing is that I knew the word Bolsheviks, but I was thinking about a different thing.
You were talking about like a secret service or something.
It was like they used guerrilla tactics to do something. That's literally all I knew, all I could remember. And what sucked is because when my teacher was telling me that, I was like, that's fucking sick to learn about. Is like, I guess it was because I was 17, 18 years old, and I was like, yo, murder and war and stuff. But like the Cold War was just talking about like, or no, the Cuban Missile Crisis was what I was thinking about.
That was pretty interesting.
Or maybe it was the Cold War, where it was like,
the Cuban Missile Crisis was something that happened in the Cold War.
Yeah, right. I was basically like getting edged to like war, where it was like, come on, someone shoot someone.
They don't talk a lot about war in history in this country, I've noticed.
Yeah, they don't talk
like
about shit.
Especially in my senior studies in high school. We talked about the French Revolution, but we didn't talk about the Emperor Wars afterwards. We talked about the Russian Revolution, which was a lot more brutal, but you don't hear a lot about the actual conflict of it. It was what led up to it.
Yeah.
And then the aftermath. They never actually speak about the actual conflict part, which was the same in, I think it was year 11. I learned about the rise of like Nazism, but not actually what it did. Yeah. It was literally just like what caused its rise. Right. It was more like a politics class, like a historic politics class, than actually learning about the whole history of that like period.
Yeah.
Which was weird because it was like the class was literally 1939 to 1945, but then we didn't learn about anything past like 1936.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It always felt like they only ever taught you half of it, like half of all of it. And it's like, I mean, in their defense, they're trying to teach you about a lot of years, tens to hundreds of years. Yeah. Like,
it's a lot for a kid to take in. It's a lot for a kid to take in. Like, even now, it's taken me 23 years to get a grasp of a lot of things that I know. And there's still so many holes in anything that I would consider to have knowledge about. Like, it's much easier for me to learn about, let's say, like 20th century, which is all of the 1900s. I can generally, like, I have a decent grasp on history then. But when we talk about, if we, you know, like delving into things like the Roman Empire, especially the history then, a lot of it is really muddy.
Yeah.
to learn about. Like, if you ever watch a video on it, it's always like, oh, there was 100,000 to 200,000 people in this fight. And then it's like, but current historians actually think it was 50 to 100.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, those are two vastly
Yeah.
different numbers. Like, 200,000 people compared to 50,000 is a huge difference. But because of the lack of actual documentation that survived that long, like, that battle could have taken place 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's 200 people's lives since then in that line of people. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, there's just we don't know really, which is why I find it very difficult when people are like, "Oh, I love ancient history," and it's like, yeah, but you like ancient mythology.
Yeah,
it's like you don't actually, we don't really know everything. A lot of the stuff we know about from then is mostly stuff we've actually dug up, because like records and stuff just weren't really kept. The reason that the period after the Roman Age was called the Dark Ages was because we forgot everything. We started shitting in the street again, dude. Like, how did we go from sponge on a stick to shitting in the street, dude? What is this barbarianism? You know, like things like how, like, for instance, the I think it was the Huns or the Mongolian Empire. Oh, I don't remember. One of them burnt down the Library of Alexandria, I think it was. I might be butchering that. Maybe. It was a great library. It was a big library, and it had a lot of records of ancient history. And one of the invading hordes, whether it was the Huns or the Mongols, just burnt it all down. Literally thousands of years of history was held in that library, and they just burnt it down.
That's insane.
Because obviously, to them at that point, it doesn't matter. Who fucking cares, right? But to us now, to have thought about the amount of knowledge and information that was held in that library is honestly quite sad.
You know what's crazy is that I can put that in crypto terms. You remember that guy that bought a pizza with a Bitcoin in like 2012 or something?
Oh my god, yeah. Fuck, I've heard about that.
That's how I just thought of it the moment you explained it to me. I was like, yeah, that guy that bought a fucking pizza with Bitcoin.
Think of the loss to the human race
Yeah.
achieved by that.
So what is it? Like one Bitcoin is like what?
It's like 50 something at the moment, I think.
I feel like it usually always sits around 50 something.
I think it's 50 something. We might be chatting shit. It might be less than that. So, yeah, like during the ancient period, we technologically, the human race advanced a lot. And what brought around the Roman Empire was two people, and I don't remember their names.
I was just about to say, what were their names?
I think one of them, hang on, I'll tell you. There were two brothers. Founding brothers.
It was
of Rome.
Gorshmarts?
So it was Romulus and Remus.
Oh, those guys.
They were twin brothers.
And one of them killed the other one, right?
Sons of a human mother and the god of war, apparently. I'm pretty sure that's horseshit. It's Mars. Or Ares.
Yeah.
If you're Greek. Either way.
I'm not Greek, I'm a gamer.
So the reason that apparently the Roman Empire was so strong is because they were mothered to the nice lady, and she might have been nice. I don't know. I didn't know her personally.
You assume every woman is great.
Yeah, I mean always. Yeah. Big fan of women.
That's the best.
Women are my favorite guys. And they were like looked after and raised by wolves apparently, which is why they were so strong. And the wolf is quite a big symbol for Rome. The wolf and the eagle. They found the area they wanted to found Rome, and I think they founded two separate cities. Obviously, Romulus founding Rome, and Remus founding, I don't know, some fucking shithole back water. Yeah, that place. Romulus ended up killing Remus, I think, and then founding Rome. And that was the reason apparently the city was founded. But at the time, it was some tiny little city sub-state, part of like a Greek federation that owned like a bunch of southern Italy and stuff. Because long before this, the Greeks, like, when we think of like ancient Greece and ancient Rome, we always think of them at the same time, but that's completely wrong. Like, all the stories we hear about ancient Greece happened long before Rome is even a thing. And the same with like ancient Egypt. A lot of the stories of ancient Egypt, other than like Cleopatra kind of period, which Cleopatra was actually born closer to our timeline than the beginning of the Egyptian Empire. Isn't that crazy?
is crazy.
That is mental, right? That's how long the Egyptian Empire was a thing.
Yeah.
So the history of these places that we always think about around the same time as Rome are actually very, very far apart. So the ancient Greeks, they actually founded colonies all over the Mediterranean Sea, which is the sea that like Italy is in. So like Greece, the Middle East, Italy, Spain,
right,
kind of oceany bit.
Yeah.
That area, the Greeks founded cities all over the place. Southern France, in Italy, all across like North Africa and stuff, Spain. That's why a lot of these places are very similar. You'll find Southern France, Italy, Spain, Greece. A lot of them have very similar ancient cultures. It's because they all came from Greece.
Huh.
So when we think of like Rome being like the founding place of the entire world, really the Mediterranean, the Greek culture was the birthplace of almost everything that we consider now to be what was Roman. Which is super weird to think about, really.
Yeah.
All those Greeks that are like, woo, yeah, let's go. Because a lot of Greeks are like, oh, Spartans and Athens and stuff. What they don't realize is the reason that Rome exists is because of Greece.
Right.
Yeah. But Greece founded a colony in northern Egypt, in northern Africa. It became known as Carthage. They were like Rome's big bad enemy. They were like the first one, the big guys that stood up against Rome. And Carthage ended up being a very big trade empire spanning all across the Mediterranean. They had places everywhere. They pretty much were like, we're now bigger than you, Greece, so go away. And then Greece were like, okay. So Carthage were like doing their thing, spreading around. Founded a bunch of colonies in southern Italy and in Sicily, which is the football that the boot is kicking. This is me like breaking it down. So if you know what Italy looks like, there's a football, and that's where Carthage were like hanging out for a bit. So in like northern Africa, bit in Sicily, hanging about there, doing their thing, and then Rome were like, stop what you're doing, get out of Sicily. And they did.
Violated the law.
You violated the law, and they fought a big war over it. And that big first war was what made Rome pretty much on the map. So Rome broke out. It was a republic at the time, which is also where we get the idea of a Senate that we have now in current government.
Yeah,
came from Rome 3,000 years ago.
Well, that's crazy because the Earth was only created 2,000 years ago.
I hate people to say that. That's the stupidest fucking thing anyone has ever said on the internet. Isn't it crazy that the Earth is only 2,000 years old?
Yeah, and we got cars.
You're
now.
fucking stupid.
We got cars and bidets.
Yo. Yeah. So the Romans were a republic at the time. They had defeated the people around them. Their other Italian kind of rivals were called the Etruscans. They defeated them. At the time, they were still using like long spears and very light armor, very similar to the Greeks, obviously, as they were practically founded by them. Still fighting that way. When they started fighting Carthage fought the exact same way. And so the fights were very long, and a lot of people died, and a lot of people got tired.
They're just hitting each other's spears.
Yeah, literally. They were just
touching tips.
It was like you have a spear on your arm, a shield on your arm, and you balance your spear like this, so your shield's like covering your hair, and you just stand in a line.
That's
and
crazy.
You poke each other.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right? That's all you did, right? It was stupid. There were like hardly any tactics. Now, the Romans used a lot of horses, but the Carthaginians used elephants, which would fuck up a lot of people, right? So it's weird to think about, but Northern Africa used to be full of elephants, lions, all sorts of stuff, giraffes. Like,
wait, which place was full of this?
Northern Africa.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so Northern Africa, like what we now consider to be like, it doesn't have that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
The last photographed lion in Northern Africa was like 1907 or something, very early on. In what we now consider modern history. But there's a photograph of it. It's very lonely. It's just a male lion wandering around. It's really sad.
That is sad.
Yeah. But back then, there used to be all sorts of stuff. So the Romans coming from Italy had to fight elephants and men who were just the same fighting, and they kept losing. Yeah, they were like, we can't win this, right?
Those guys are stacking up the splatter.
It's the same on the oceans. The Carthaginians had a gigantic navy because, of course, they were founding cities all over the place across the water, so they had a big navy. So the Roman Republic was like, well, we need to vote to do something here. And they did, and they built a big navy, and they completely redid their army. I think it was the Aurelian... things, but that was probably a little later. I don't remember. But pretty much that's when they swapped from the spear to the sword. The little gladius is what the sword was called. And that was a pokey proddy one.
Stabby guy.
That was when they went to a big shield, little sword, about this long. Audio viewers can't see what I'm pointing at, but
it's like my penis length. So
hey, yo, imagine like
huge
from the end of your fingers to like your shoulder.
Yeah,
or your elbow. Sorry.
If you go to Subway and you get a foot-long meatball sub, it's about the size of that.
A little bit longer.
All right,
like a foot and a bit.
Okay.
When you go to Subway and you ask for a foot and a bit.
Yeah,
that's how long it
then
is.
Get back to us.
That's how long it is. So it's a foot and a bit, and they're like stabbing with it. So what they do is they have their shields in the shield wall, right? Pokey, proddy spears going through. They go past the shields. They get up close. Bam. Stab above the... Bam.
Insane.
And because now they don't have to stand in a big line, they can spread apart. So you find now that Romans are encircling armies instead of just fighting them in a line in front of them. So instead of just stabbing in a line, it's a lot of going around. You know? Like going around, you know what I mean? Going around and really pincering them, you know?
Yeah.
So as soon as they really defeated Carthage and they took like Sicily and Sardinia, a couple of islands and stuff, it was like loads of wars after that. But then they just exploded like so fast. That was I don't even know when that was, like 900 BC maybe. And by like 10 AD they conquered like pretty much all of what we know as Europe now.
That's crazy.
The entire empire went through series of civil wars and strife where the empire's largest was Eastern and Western, and it controlled like all of like Turkey, the Middle East, all of North Africa, Spain, Europe, up here, stopping at like kind of Germany border.
Right.
And it was split pretty much clean in half, and there was East and West, and they would fight each other all the time. And there was a period where like Cleopatra was like, "This my bit," and then like the guy who was
this
down there,
my bit,
Mark
yes,
Antony, I think it was, suck your dad. Mark Antony, who was down there, was like, "This my bitch. I'm out here fighting for Egypt now." And then they like had a big war, and there was people fighting all over the place. There's a lot of fighting that went on, both in and out of it.
I guess what's crazy to think about though is like you said that the Romans were like the only ones that actually like changed up their game plan really when they were fighting.
Yeah, so Romans had the ability to, or like their military went through a lot of like reforms as time went on. Right. So it started like, as I said, with the spear and the light armor. Then it went to like the heavy armor with like the short sword. Then it went to the full metal plating.
Right.
That's when they would cover their entire body almost in like proper thick metal. And that didn't work when fighting barbarians, as they were called, quote unquote, but they were really just like border people of what we now consider like old, like England, for instance, the Celts. We're talking like tribal guys, you know, long sword, long hair, big beard.
Cutting heads off and,
you know, like all the
killing babies and shit.
Yeah, eating children, that kind of thing. Those were barbaric people. No teeth, you know, that kind of thing. So when they fought them, they were super light. Get around their armor, stab them in the back. Like when you're covered in armor, carrying a massive shield,
you're the Tin Man.
Exactly. It didn't work, right? So they had to change again, and they changed to like scale armor, which sort of worked, but it was great versus their eastern foes coming from places like Persia or what is now Iran.
Do you know what like Persia was using?
Horses.
Weapons?
Horses.
Just horses.
A lot of
just
horses.
Running them down.
They were called cataphracts. Fully armored, very large horsemen. They charge into a Roman line, and the Romans in their big heavy armor can't move.
They just fall backwards. Like a fucking like a statue. Yeah.
They're like,
then
help
they start
me.
kicking and screaming.
Yeah, they're upside down. They can't do anything.
That's embarrassing.
So the cataphracts are coming in. They're moving quick. It's like and they use like Mongol tactics where they like circle around and just shoot them with arrows. They can't do anything against that. So they changed to scaled light armor, a lot more like the chainlet style stuff you see with like early knights and things like that. You know, the little chainlet shit. They kind of swapped to that, and that helps. It means they can be a lot more maneuverable against both the barbarians of the west and the Persians of the east. I think they were the Abyssinians, they were called at the time.
I
Don't
guess,
quote me
like,
on that.
because I always
But they
think
kept
about
changing
like
a lot, in other words.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, unfortunately, corruption and internal strife collapsed the whole empire in on itself. It could no longer defend its own borders. Its armies were commanded by individuals rather than the state itself.
yeah.
So when someone, for instance, it happened all the time in late Roman times. Let's say the governor of England, what was at the time Britannia, right? He had his armies that he built there, and then it was like, I'm the emperor now, and we'll just leave Britannia with all the armies and go and try and attack Rome because I want to be the emperor now. Leaving Britannia completely defenseless.
That's an ADHD moment.
It is.
If I've ever
It's
seen
like the Roman Empire was the meaning of ADHD, right? The whole thing was like, I want to do this now. No, I want to do this now. I want to do this now. And everyone fighting each other constantly on the inside. It meant that, as I just said, let's say like Britannia, it would constantly fight against the Picts, who were Scotland. And they would constantly cross Hadrian's Wall, which is way in the north. Hadrian's Wall was built to keep them out, quote unquote. They would just cross it because there was no one there.
Yeah.
Because the whole army had left. So imagine that in every province all across Rome. Everyone doing it constantly. And by the end of it, there was no armies left. No one to defend it. They went through 50 emperors in like 3 years or some shit because they were all killing each other.
Jesus.
They were just stabbing each other constantly. There was death everywhere. It was like Game of Thrones, right? It was mental. And eventually the whole empire just collapsed in on itself. The only thing that left, or was left, was the Eastern Roman Empire, which was became the Byzantines, which are my favorite version of the Roman Empire, but there's loads of them. So Russia was Third Rome once. Yeah, Russia pronounced itself Third Rome, the third one. Yeah.
So Rome was just like the entire thing? The entire, like, why? What was making Russia the third Rome? Like, was Russia still
so there was the
big
Roman
Russia that
there
it
was
is?
the Roman Empire, like the big one,
and
then it collapsed, and then there was the Eastern Roman Empire, which was the second
okay,
Rome.
right.
That was the one that was like left.
Okay, yeah.
So they owned what is now Turkey, most of like the Balkan area. So we're talking like Serbia, Hungary, that kind of bit.
Yeah.
So there's Turkey, all of this bit of southern Italy, some of North Africa. They slowly lost it over time, regained it, lost it. It was a battle to even stay alive in that place. And then they died. They lost. They collapsed in under the pressure of the Ottoman Empire, which became Turkey. And then Russia was like, well, we're number 3.
Our turn.
My
turn on the Xbox.
Me. But then there was also, like, for instance, the HRE, Holy Roman Empire, which was made by the Pope. And he was like...
That's sick. Was he running in there with, like, swords?
There was no battle pope. No. There were no battle popes, but...
Battle Pope running it down mid.
Yeah, he's running it down mid. Guys, I bought a Vandal, no armor.
Nothing but a shorty.
Nothing but a shorty. What's the Pope's ability? Is he Valorant, dude? What's he got?
He's got 3 heals.
He's got Bless Up.
Yeah, his ultimate is a heal, and then he's got his QE and...
No, his ultimate is like Call a Crusade or something. Summons like 50 other people on the map.
Yeah, he just summons a bunch of little humans.
A lot of knights.
Yeah.
Puts like a lot of knights around him. He's like a shield.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
It's just Harbor's
Riot Games, add the Pope to Valorant.
Are you listening? Are you listening right now, Riot?
Listen, Riot.
Add the Pope.
Listen, Riot. I'm writing into you right now. Listen, dear Riot, add the Pope.
Signed, John.
Signed, me. Yeah, so the Pope declared the Emperor of Germany the Holy Roman Empire.
So I'm just thinking about the Pope running it down mid with a shorty.
He's got that stupid long cloak on too.
Hey, anyone that draws artwork, can you do that?
What, the Pope running it down mid?
Wait, is that blasphemy?
Why has he got a shorty? Did he buy armor?
It's funny.
Did he buy armor?
It's whatever he wants to buy, to be honest.
Yeah.
He probably bought all abilities.
He is the Pope.
He is the Pope after all.
He is.
He bought 3 flashes and just run it down.
What are the Pope's flashes, man?
I don't know.
Holy hand grenades.
Is that from Worms?
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy.
Well, it was originally from a Monty Python skit.
It was originally from the Roman Empire.
Yeah, so the Roman Empire invented holy hand grenades.
Yeah.
So there was the Holy Roman Empire, which was actually like Germany, but it wasn't like one big state. It was like an area that if the country existed in it, it was part of it. It was like a big voting system.
Right.
And like the emperorship would swap between a bunch of elector counts that would all elect a new emperor every time the old emperor died.
Mm-hmm.
And the emperor's job was to defend the borders, but everyone inside of it was their own country. It's really confusing.
Mm.
It's like so Australia, right? Imagine every state was actually independent, but the person who was in charge of Australia, the state, swapped between each state every time the owner, like the person in charge, died. But it's the person in charge's job to make sure the whole state both runs properly and doesn't lose land. That was what the Holy Roman Empire was. But imagine that, but there'd be about 500 countries inside of it. That was what the Holy Roman Empire was. Right in the dead center of Germany.
Mm.
Fucking mess is what it was, mate. Anyway, the Pope was like, "You're the Holy Roman Empire." And then the guys in the Holy Roman Empire were like, "We're not Roman. Or very holy, for that matter." And they were like, "It's you." And then, the Byzantines were not happy about that whatsoever. Because they were still alive at this point and doing quite well, actually. Mm. And they were like, "Oh, so you're just going to go off and be like..." And then that's what created what's called the Great Schism, which is what the split between the East and the West religions, because the Byzantines were Orthodox Christian. Whereas the Rome was obviously Catholic.
Mm.
Here's one. The Byzantines, or the Eastern Roman Empire, are the reason that Russia is Orthodox. Because Russia...
Who?
The Eastern Roman Empire. So they were the ones that were still left after the Western Roman Empire all fell. The Rome that you're thinking of, the big one, when that fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, which still existed, they were Orthodox Christian at the time, which is a different form of Christianity.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the full black robes and they swing the urn around. Have you seen that shit?
No.
No, they swing. They're sick. They swing like an urn around with some smoke in it. It looks dope, dude. Do you know Rasputin? They all look like him.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anyway, cool looking religion. Don't know fucking anything about it, but it looks cool. I know they swing a ball around. I know that. Anyway, the ball swingy people, they were like, this is like our area. So the Eastern Roman Empire was the only place that was Orthodox at the time. Don't quote me on that, but it was the only big one that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Kievan Rus. This is where Russia originated from Kiev. Isn't that crazy? Like the Ukraine.
Yeah, wow.
The country that is now Russia pretty much was founded in Kiev, which is mental. But they were like, well, we could be any of these religions. You know, they had Muslim in their country, they had Catholics, they had Jewish, they had Orthodox, and the Byzantines were like, here's loads of money, be Orthodox. And then we're like, okay, and it's still their state church now. So because of the Roman Empire, Russia is Orthodox. I mean, they got rid of it for a little bit under, a whole, he had a mustache. You might not know him. He was sort of important in Russia.
You might have to teach me about that guy.
No, no one really knows about him. He's a small figurehead.
Charlie Chaplin?
Yeah, that was him. How'd you know that?
It's comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Just natural.
The old funny guy routine, no?
The funny guy.
Yeah, so, anyway, that's my ramble about Rome. There's a lot more to it, but that's the briefest I can really make it.
I'm glad that you can do almost dead on an hour ramble about
Rome. That was
Rome.
an hour, Jesus.
I know. For me, I looked at it and it was the 15-minute mark, and I was like, oh, it's only been 15 minutes, and then I looked back and it was 50 minutes, and I was like, hold on.
I've got you. No problem.
I guess to recap, in a very short way. You, not me.
Oh, I thought you were gonna try and regurgitate it to me.
That was something that I had planned, where I was like, oh, that would be a fun, cute.
Just try and regurgitate something. I'll fill in blanks. Anything.
Romulus.
So we stopped at the start, didn't we?
No, I guess that's the thing is I guess to That's why I want like the smaller recap, because people like me, you put more information in, the rest of it's going to come
next
out.
Next time we do a podcast, I'm going to bring a map, because it will be way more easier to explain
That'd be
this.
sick. Just put a map.
Yeah, just
on
put
the
it
wall.
here, and I can point to you where it is.
That'd
It'll be so
oh
much.
My God,
such a better idea.
Genius.
Can you write that down?
Yes.
I'm going to forget it otherwise. No, it's way easier. I know unfortunately for audio listeners, it's not going to be great, but I think if we do record video, it'd be much easier for me to be able to point where I'm talking about. Because when I say, the Mediterranean, so many people are like, the where? It's unfortunate, but yeah, that's just how it is. I'm sure there are some listeners that are like, who doesn't know where the Mediterranean is? But
me.
Yeah.
I'd literally, like, I could not explain to you how much I don't know about history. Like, what I said before, Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, King Louis XVI being a fat dude who got his head cut off because he ate too much food. That I'm pretty sure that's... John, yeah. I think I know a little bit more about this.
You could explain that one when we get around to that then, okay? John, shut up, all right? I know this.
I'm just going to send you a message about that because I wrote it in the notes, but...
All right, look, to sum up briefly, two brothers found the city of Rome. At the time, it was fucking nothing. There was like hardly anyone there. Some guy was sucking on a tit of a wolf, something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, they were like on the wolf, you know?
Is that how we got milk?
Yes.
The Roman Empire really did create everything, didn't it?
I think they knew about milk before the Roman Empire, but yeah. Anyway. That's so funny. Is that how we got milk? From Romulus sucking on a wolf tit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because then they started sucking on the cow tits.
So they found a city. At the time, the Greeks were like the big bad in the Mediterranean. Then it was the Carthaginians, who were northern African. Rome defeated Carthage and a couple of other Italian states in a big war. Rome then becomes the big man in Italy. From that point, for about 1,000 years, they're just fighting everyone. They're everywhere. Killing people, changing their armor and tactics up.
So 100 people drop from a plane.
So they're dropping into, let's say Italy is Tilted Towers.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So 2 guys drop into Tilted Towers,
yeah.
Found Rome in a building, big skyscraper, the biggest one. Actually, at the time, it's the smallest one.
Right.
Okay? What they do is they build it up to be the biggest skyscraper in Tilted Towers. A lot of mats. They're collecting a lot of brick, right?
You know what? I think this is the way to explain it at the end.
So in Tilted Towers, they become the biggest skyscraper, right? In Tilted Towers. And then the big bad from Tomato Town across the pond. That's Carthage. They're coming in. They want to take the southern bit of Tilted Towers, that building that's across from Tilted. They want that. But Rome are like, I want that too. So they fight. And of course, Tilted Towers barely, but comes out on top, defeating Tomato Town's navy on the ponds of Swiggity Swamp, or whatever the fuck that area is called.
Sweet. You know what? Let's turn all of the names of Fortnite towns into like old West Coast rap. Tiggity Tomato Town.
So Tilted Towers has defeated Tomato Town, right? Yeah. Now they're the big man on the block, and they end up taking the whole Fortnite map. Okay? They took it all, but on the outer reaches of the Fortnite map, on the outer reaches, Greasy Grove, and Anarchy Acres, they're struggling to take them. They can't take them. Anyway, everyone in Tilted Towers, they start fighting each other. They all start killing each other.
Somebody's got to get the gold
Tomato
star.
Town used to be its own thing. It wants to be its own thing again. So the governor of Tomato Town takes the army, goes and fights. Greasy Grove comes in round the back of Tomato Town while it's doing it. Takes some land from there. Gets worse and worse until they're stuck just in Tilted Towers, right? And then they lose Tilted Towers. Oh no. Sad face emoji. Okay. But don't worry. I need another town name.
Pleasant Park.
What are we doing? It's okay though, because in Pleasant Park in the corner, it's still alive. And they stay alive for another 1,000 years, 1,600 years. But then they die. But don't worry, because Tomato Town, again, they were already founded as a different thing. What's another name? Greasy Grove. They decided, I'm Rome number 3.
Did we use Greasy Grove already?
Yeah. But don't worry,
But
because the invaders came in from Greasy Grove, but then they called themselves Third Rome later. There you go. There it is. In Fortnite terms.
All right.
We need a Fortnite map next to the normal map.
I was going to tell you could literally like get a Fortnite map from season 4 and just write like
whenever
Russia,
Tilted Towers
like,
was added, I want that on there, on that board.
Yeah, that was when we were playing Fortnite.
That was the going time, bro. That was the time.
Oh, that's actually insane because you know what the worst part is that made so much sense to me when you put it in Fortnite terms.
It's so fucking
like
stupid.
The meme of explaining Fortnite terms, I can't describe to you how well that worked. But
two guys drop into Tilted Towers. That's so fucking stupid.
I think we do have to run for a little bit longer anyway because I did record for a little bit longer, so we're probably at like 50 minutes.
That's
so
all right.
We can hit an hour.
All right. What do you think? What are you talking about now? Did you retain any of that?
When you put it in Fortnite terms, yeah.
Did you retain anything before the Fortnite terms?
Yes, but like the only issue is that with all of the different names, they were getting like mixed around where it was like I didn't remember who was doing what, I guess.
Okay.
So, and I think that's what will help when we use Fortnite terms and describe.
I think if we legitimately had a map, it'd be so much easier.
Yeah.
I feel annoyed that I didn't bring a map.
Because there's some times where I'm literally just like looking at the ground, like, or like eyes closed, trying to like picture the map in my head. But
there it is, Tilted Towers right
right in the middle where it should be. Standing strong.
Hoorah. How old is Tilted Towers now? Isn't that like 5 seasons old?
It's crazy. I saw like I saw a thing on TikTok where it was like season whatever was this many days ago. Season whatever was this many days ago. And it's like you can think about like, oh, Fortnite came out in what, like 2018 or something like that.
It was earlier than that, I think, because there was like the Fortnite, like the zombie thing that it was originally meant to be.
Yeah, I guess like
the
Battle Royale, yeah. Well, I think that came out like 2018, 2019, because I don't think I was at school because I never spoke to anybody about Fortnite.
No, it wasn't.
So it was like
school.
2019,
I think it was just. Oh, yeah, I think it was just after.
And so
maybe
like you think about that, you're like, oh, for example, could be wrong. Like, oh, Fortnite came out in 2019. You're like, oh, that was a really long time ago. But then you're like, this season finished in 2020 or like late 2019, and you're like, wait, that was like the prime of Fortnite. That was like when it was at its craziest part. We need one more person sitting here so we can take the is Fortnite overrated
2017.
Photo. That's when Fortnite came out?
Mm-hmm. When did Fortnite Battle Royale come out? It was 26th of September 2017.
That's so crazy. Because like that does make sense to
Maybe,
me, but
I thought it was cringe in year 12. Because it was year 12 at the time, just after. It's like when
oh, actually, wait. Yeah, no, I think maybe I wasn't playing Fortnite because like it wasn't crossplay yet.
Ah, maybe.
And the only times I was playing Fortnite was with people from your school.
Right. Okay.
After moving schools.
Yeah, right.
So
just to put in context, by the way, we are both 23. So, well,
yeah, old.
Are you 23?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are, yeah. So thinking back to high school wasn't that long ago. I know it's weird maybe sometimes that people would be like, oh, it was year 12.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, we're only 23. So like, it's not that long. I mean, it was, 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
Fuck, I feel so old. 5 years.
I keep explaining that to M because M keeps like getting sad about how old she is, and I'm like,
isn't M like 2 years younger than us?
She's 1 year younger than us. Calm down. She's 1 year younger than us, but she's like, oh fuck, I'm so old and stuff like that, and I'm like, bro, schmeep schmop, like I'm still playing video games and stuff like that. And,
yeah, true. I'm doing the same thing I did 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like I haven't. It's when I get to that point of like, okay, something needs to be figured out now. Like I can't still be fucking queuing Valorant at like 12 a.m. on a Tuesday. Like that's it's at that point where I'm like, something's wrong. Something needs to change.
I don't know. I think it's all right.
At this age, I think it is all right.
Yeah, 23.
Except for the fact that like there's like online friends that I'm making that are like other streamers and stuff like that. And they're like, bro, you're 23. You're fucking old. I'm like, how old are you?
Isn't
They're like
that
19.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like that baffles me.
Some people get really big really early. And that's good for them, man. Like, good for them. But, we fell off before we even started.
We done felled off.
We fell off before we even started, my friend.
Yeah.
And, that happens. But, yeah, it is weird when people, like, call me old and I'm like, I'm 23. I'm, like, prime life at the moment. You're still in school, loser.
I keep seeing people, like, walking to school. I'm like, that's crazy.
Isn't it weird?
Like you leave school and you think it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, for real. Like, they're just buildings at that point. No one goes in on them.
Yeah, nobody goes in.
I was the only person that was in there that was important. Now it's done. It's done.
Do you ever think about, like, for example, you hit a roundabout, like, say, like, driving
100 kilometers an hour.
You flip the car. Do you ever think about how much that would hurt? No, so, like, for example, if you were driving to here and, like, there was a roundabout there and you only went one way through the roundabout, like, just...
What do you mean?
Like...
Just, like, straight over the middle?
No, not like... I'm talking about, like, generally, like, normal. Like, you don't go either of these two ways.
You mean, like,
when
every
you go
day? Like, I only go one way?
Yeah.
Right, okay,
and it's like, do you ever think about, like, what is those two ways?
They're the locked off bits of the game.
Like, that's
I don't have the DLC for those ways yet.
I always think about that. I'll, like, see a building and I'll be like, I will never go into that building in my entire life. Isn't that something weird to think about? Because that's something I think about frequently.
You are getting way too existential, man.
No, that's
I don't
just
look
something
at like the tiling company I drove past and go, man, I'm never ever gonna go in.
I do though.
Why?
Like, that's, I don't know.
That's your Roman Empire. That's your Roman Empire.
The tiling company and Tilted Towers.
Yeah. Every day I think about Tilted Towers.
No, I don't know. That's something that I thought about it once. I, like, drove past a building and I was like, I'm never gonna go in that building. And then, like, or like certain houses.
You could.
Yeah, but I won't.
Yeah, but why not?
Because I never have a need to go into that.
Well, then that
building.
doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean?
But it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you're saying that you'll never go in there, but you could just stop and walk in the building.
Well, I guess, like, the way that my life unfolds, I will never go into that building.
Right, okay.
Like,
what if you actually end up doing that? What if you pull up to the building and go, wow, this is really weird, and you just walk in? Because you've been thinking about that for your whole life.
Well, something that I was talking to Em about.
92 years old on your deathbed, and you're like, I need to go to that tiles company that I drove past.
Get me out of this coffin. I think about, like, I was telling Em, I was like, wow, if you told 11-year-old Jack that, like, I was going to be living where I do now, and, like, 11-year-old Jack would have been like, no, I'm going to be living here forever. Like, I'm going to be living here with mum and dad forever for my entire life. And, like, that's, I don't know. I think about that a lot. That's some weird shit that I think about frequently.
It sounds like you get very existential.
I guess, if that's what existential is.
I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes
I don't think about
myself,
I don't think about dying or anything like that. I just think about, like, weird shit like that.
I think about dying all the time.
I don't.
Is that sad? Maybe.
I
don't want to die.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think everyone thinks about it at some point.
I think about
not
it,
like,
I think too much.
Not
though.
like killing themselves. I just mean, like, everyone thinks about death in general.
I don't want to kill myself. I'm fine.
That's good. That makes two of us. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I don't know. That's me being existential.
Like, sometimes I think, like, sometimes I get super, like, have you seen those maps where it's like, this is how big we are in the universe?
Yes.
Sometimes I look at it and I go, what's the point? Why am I slaving away every day for, like, I'm trying to get, like, $60 a day just to get by. And then I look at a map where we're literally a speck in a universe larger than anything we can comprehend. And I'm like, why am I bothering?
And I'm like, bro, I'm driving to work right now.
What am I doing? Like, why am I trying?
Guys, this is a PSA from John and Jack right here. Quit your job.
Don't do that. Oh, well, no, don't do that. Don't quit your job.
Quit your job and walk into the tiling company.
Actually, yeah. If you see that building...
If you see a building and you're thinking the same thing I do frequently, like, wow, I'll never go into that building ever in my life. Do it.
Just walk
Unless it's somebody's house. Maybe don't.
If it's someone's house, go in there.
Because...
Sit down and say, is this the study group?
Was that you making a nod to a video that I made?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I watched it.
That's what it's like being famous, I guess.
Yeah.
People are going to start saying something, like, people are going to quote a video of mine. I'm going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I always hear about people saying that, especially with podcasts. Somebody will come up to them and, like, make a joke from one of the podcast episodes, and they're like, what? And it's like, because they just don't remember what they recorded, especially when they record so many.
Like, we sit here for, let's say, an hour 15, hour and a half maybe, chat shit. I'm not going to remember everything we talk about.
Yeah.
I talked about Romulus sucking on a wolf tit. I remember that because that's funny.
I'm going to remember you explaining the Roman Empire in Fortnite terms.
Yeah. Honestly, Tomato Town was a naughty boy.
That feels so bad, though, to know that the only reason I understand it is when you put it in Fortnite terms. I guess I understood it when you were explaining it to me, but it's like I can retain the knowledge better when you put it in Fortnite terms.
It'll be easier with a map, trust me.
Yeah,
it's way easier to like image it on a map and be like, these guys fought these guys, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But when I say Carthage fought Rome, you're like, what does that even mean? Like, who is Carthage?
I was going to say to you, what is cartilage? Because I thought that you said cartilage.
No.
So
cartilage is the shit inside your bones, isn't it?
That's these. That's this. This is cartilage.
Isn't it in your nose too?
Yeah.
It's the weak bone.
We're making faces to each other.
It's not quite the real bone. It's like the fake bone.
Yeah, the fake bone.
Right. Okay.
It's like when you get like vegan chicken or something like that, and it's made out of like soy or like tofu or something.
That's
this
the
is the tofu.
That's
of
the cartilage
our
tofu.
bones. Yeah.
Right.
That's the cartilage chicken.
Carthage were the elephant people. They were the ones that rode around on elephants.
Right, sick.
Yeah. That was me riding on an elephant, by the way.
Elephants do not move that fast.
Yeah, they do.
John's doing it like he's holding onto the back of a fucking truck.
Dude, you have not seen an elephant move, bro. They're like, that's an elephant, dude. They're cruising.
Have you ever ridden a horse?
I have. I had a horse in England.
That's crazy.
Yeah, his name was Prince.
So I always ask these things to John, and he's like,
black horse.
Yeah, I owned one of that thing. Or like, yeah, I did that thing all the time.
Bernard the tortoise.
Yeah.
He was cruising.
He was fucking a lot, right?
He fucked a lot.
John had a tortoise that used to fuck the neighbor's tortoise.
Yeah. He used to break out, and then the whole village knew him and had to bring him back.
Yeah, John also lived in a village.
Oh, yeah, I lived in a village of 300 people. In a house that was 700 years old.
John lived in Skyrim, pretty much. But
pretty much. I actually lived in Lord of the Rings.
Instead of dinosaurs, they had tortai.
Tortai? Oh my god, I love that.
Plural of tortoise, right?
I don't think so. I think it was just tortoises.
I don't like that.
Tortai sounds way better.
Like the sauce. Tortai sauce?
Tartar sauce?
Yeah. Same thing. Made from aquatic animal, probably.
Except tortai sauce is made of tortoises.
Mm.
It's like turtle soup. That's a thing, isn't it?
Probably.
I think it is.
You know what's crazy about this podcast specifically? You could tell me fucking anything and I'll believe you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Unless it's incredibly outrageous. If you say it as confidently as you do about like history stuff, I'll believe you. Which is probably a really bad way to start. Like me being like first episode being like, yeah, tell me anything, but make it sound like you know what you're talking about and I'll believe you. Because then I'm just going to look like
I'm trying to think of something like weird that I can
just
tell
slightly.
But like, I'm trying to think of something that's actually true that's weird that you might not actually believe. But I don't think there is anything.
Well, now I'm just not going to believe anything you say.
Well,
maybe Romulus and Remus weren't real.
I don't think they were. That's the thing. They definitely were not.
That was a thing that I was thinking
They definitely
about,
were not. There was no way two guys were raised by wolves and then killed each other. Like, there's no way.
That's what I think about as well, because it's like with technology now, you can be like, you can't explain to something like, explain to somebody like 2 + 2 = 6. Like you can't do that anymore because it's like, oh, I'll just look it up.
Yeah.
Like 2 + 2
Romulus
equals not
and
6.
Remus were in Roman law were real, but there's no way they were the son of Mars, the god of war, and were raised by wolves. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
That's like this is gonna be a yikesy topic. I don't think Jesus was real, but I think Jesus as a person, I think he was real. But I don't think he turned water to wine. I think that's Chinese shit. I don't think he was the son of God. I reckon he just found out what mushrooms were and just gave them to everyone. He was like, look, guys, it's bread. But they were just eating rocks. But they had no idea.
John, you are blaspheming more than I did when I called the God of War Kratos or whatever. Wait, what did I do?
No, the battle pope. You were talking about the pope running it down mid with a shorty, dude.
Are we allowed to get that? Is somebody allowed to draw the Pope
running
it down mid with a
What's
shorty?
he going to do? Say no?
Is it illegal or something?
No.
The Pope's like a government official, right?
No, of course he's not.
Yeah.
The Pope's not going to rock up in his little Pope-mobile and be
he
like...
does have a Pope-mobile,
Have you seen it? It's dope.
You know what?
It's a sedan with a giant glass box on the back.
Yeah.
And he sits in the glass box in his little chair, and he's like,
and his legs poke out the bottom, and he runs.
yeah, it's like when he was a hologram during COVID. Did you see that? They hologrammed him on a thing, and everyone thought it was a ghost because he just disappeared.
I keep thinking that the Pope-mobile is just the baby car, where it's just his head with wheels on the bottom. His head with just wheels on the bottom of it. That's just what I think about when we talk about the Pope-mobile.
And when it drives around, it just plays like hymns or something.
It just plays like ominous like whale song.
What? Ominous whale song?
Yeah. It just plays like very Mongolian throat bass or something like that.
Why would the Pope-mobile play Mongolian throat
Just
singing?
that kind of music.
You mean that?
Yeah, but if you listen to it for long enough, like you
turn into a trance state. You start dancing around a fire in the woods naked.
I thought you said a trance state, and I was like,
yeah,
I don't think they like that.
You become
a
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go into a trance and start eating rocks.
I'm thinking it's bread. Look, guys, it's bread. It's fish, I promise.
That's actually,
that's totally what happened. I've always thought that my whole life.
Listen, man, to each their own. You know, you can go down that path yourself. I'm not
if you
trying to
message
make
Jack
enemies.
and be like, I don't like the fact that John said that Jesus was just a guy who discovered mushrooms, figure it out. Google it, mate. All right? Because I'm telling you.
Google it, even though we just talked about how you can't Google
you can't
anything
just
about
Google
history.
anything. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's weird, right? Because I do think there were people in history that were like important figures, but I don't think a lot of them, like a lot of like history is based off just hearsay, especially of that time period. Like that long ago, we're talking thousands of years ago, where like we went through a whole period of history where documentation was systematically destroyed.
Yeah.
There's no way that a lot of these people that existed did what they did.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can say anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's like history.
It's like,
history
what's that
lessons
religion
would be
that's
so much
horseshit
different.
that came
Flying
from
Spaghetti
America?
Monster?
No, not that one. That's real, obviously.
Oh, right.
Dumbass. What's the? What? No, it's the fake Jesus one where he was like, oh yeah, I found these
three magic beans.
No, that is that. The one where he was like, I found these tablets in America or whatever. What is it? It's not Mormon, is it?
No, Mormons
It is.
like fuck a lot.
No,
right?
It's the Mormons. It is.
Okay.
I remember it's the Mormons. Joseph Smith, claimed...
I'm not falling for that.
Joseph Smith claimed that he translated golden plates that he found of an ancient American civilization that told of the prophet history Mormon was all compiled onto it. He claimed that an angel had told him where to go to find these plates that only he could read. He then put them all together, wrote it down in a book, right? But someone didn't believe him because they wanted to look at the tablets, right? So the man writes it all in a book, keeps it safe. Someone goes in, takes that book and tells him, oh no, the book's gone. I lost it. I'm so sorry. Can you rewrite it all? Because obviously you can remember what was on the tablets.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. Completely fucking different, both books. And yet it still stands as one of the most prominent Christian things in the world.
That's a
Some
conspiracy
guy in
theory.
1830 went completely chatting shit, was like, hey, I found these tablets that an angel directed me to. Solid gold, by the way. I'm going to write in a book. Here you go, guys. By the way, I'm in charge because only I can speak to God. So, if man was born in the 21st century, he'd own a crypto scam.
Somebody said, what's your name and how do you know about these tablets? And he said, my name's Joe. And I said, yeah, right. Right, my name's Candace, yeah.
Yeah, I've got Sugma. Sorry? Sugma balls. Bro, literally, like, Joseph Smith ran an 1830s crypto scam. That's what it was. And he made bank off it, dude.
Crypto scams are so interesting to me.
Are they?
Yeah. Just like fascinating.
Yeah. What was that one that you did?
Thanks for watching the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll cut that out.
If you could, if you, okay, would you rug pull someone? Would you rug pull people?
No.
If it meant, let's say, For how much money would you have to destroy your entire reputation for?
It's so hard to
$1 billion
think about.
flat. There you go.
Fuck.
I'm serious. If you give me $1 billion right now, I'll destroy my entire reputation for the rest of my life. Because of the amount of good I could do with that money, not only for myself but for the people around me. It's far more important to me than my online reputation.
Yeah,
that's why like I kind of get it when I see like people go into like, for instance, Logan Paul gets into like all these scams and stuff and like rug pulls and invest in all this money. Dude, if I could destroy my online reputation for the amount of money that man makes, I would. Because the amount of like good I could do for the people around me and myself with that money, I don't give a shit about my online reputation at that point.
I think what's funny though is
that
like,
is such an awful thing to say on a podcast. I'm sorry, guys.
We're
I do care about all of you because I'm not going to get $1 billion. But
and we're friends. We're all friends.
If I did though, bye. No, I'm joking. Cut that out. Cut that out.
I guess what is like funny to me though is like I know that Logan Paul does a lot of like those scams and stuff like that. I don't hate Logan Paul, and it's purely because like
if you had been caught up in one, you probably would.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If I was somebody that had put money into like a Logan Paul business venture,
NFT.
Yeah, especially after
monkey NFT.
Especially after knowing how
I feel like how many times can you scam a
exactly.
group of people before that group of people go, maybe he's scamming us?
Yeah, and that's what like with the crypto zoo thing, which was like the most recent
I
one.
actually don't know any of the scams that he's done. I just know that it's like he gets into them all the time.
Yeah, so the crypto zoo one was like the most recent one, and like yeah, basically just like rug pulled everybody on that as well. And everyone was like, what the fuck, man? But I'm like, he has done so many before that I can't feel bad for you. Crypto Zoo seemed like a cool idea.
What is Crypto Zoo?
I'm going to have to do some more research.
Yeah. Bring it back for the next one because I'm actually I don't know. All right, I'll tell you what. This is your homework. Next one. All right, I'm giving you homework. And you guys are home. Giving you homework. You need to bring something to the, like, because obviously I went on an hour-long rant almost about the Roman Empire. So you need to hit me up with something about the Logan Paul scams on the next one, okay?
Yeah. I was in an entire video about different content creator influencer scams. Yeah.
I think I might have. Wait, did I see this?
It was a collab video. It wasn't on my channel.
It wasn't on your channel, then I haven't seen it.
But yeah, I was explained a lot of the scams and stuff like that. It's just really because it was 3 or 4 months ago that I don't really remember.
Do you remember Boxy? Did you ever know who that was?
Yes, I think
she was the weird. That. She was the weird chick.
Yeah, I think we covered that scam.
Yeah, she did NFTs.
Well.
Did you see that? She did NFTs of her face. She came back onto the internet to do NFTs of her face. I think what was she like a 2010 meme?
Oh wait,
do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about her. Yeah, I think I know who.
Yeah, she came back onto the internet after all this time to do NFTs of her face.
That's crazy.
Isn't that mad?
That makes me think about like the XXXTentacion thing, where they started they were planning to sell NFTs, and I was like, bro, you're the bottom of the barrel right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the way they drag that man's name is mental.
Oh, it's gross. Yeah. But as two white guys talking about XXXTentacion and how bad his management is. Right. But yeah, I think that can do it. We managed to explain the Roman Empire meme.
Well, that was an awfully brief, very not in-depth version of the Roman Empire. But yeah,
like I said, teachers can't explain a whole history lesson in.
This is less time I would have than in an actual class.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah.
It's like what?
Isn't that mental?
Just barely 2 periods.
How the fuck am I going to teach that?
Yeah.
Oh. Thankfully enough, I live in Australia, so we don't have to do any history of European matters. So I'm going to have to learn all the Australian history. All of the...
Now you know 900 emus were killed and 2,000 emus were wounded.
2,500 were actually wounded. But the emu medics were able to save them.
And the emu commander really took it to us.
He started splitting them up into small groups.
Yeah, they were using big shields and small swords.
You did retain something.
I did.
He did it.
Let's go.
He did it.
Let's fucking go.
Big shield, small swords.
And it's crazy because it was when you were talking about like violence that I retained.
Unfortunately, it's much easier and more quote unquote more interesting for people than me saying, "Oh, it was a republic and then an empire and then it did this and there were 400 Senate members."
Third Rome,
huh?
And then Third Rome.
Who was Third Rome?
Russia.
Nice. Do you know who the Second Rome were? Do you remember?
Fuck. Tomato Town?
So there was big Rome, the Rome that we all think of in our head.
Rome.
And then there was, which side of Rome was it?
Eastern Rome?
Empire. But yes.
Oh, Eastern Roman Empire.
Yeah, you did it.
Right.
So big Rome, Eastern Roman Empire.
Oh, I thought you meant like who was the country that was.
Well, area,
Rome.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you did it.
And I think that's why I didn't know.
First, second, and third Rome. Not including the HRE, but
guys, I learned something in an hour and a half. I learned something. Isn't that crazy?
I think it would be interesting if one of us does explain something for a deep amount. If the other person can attempt to then regurgitate it, I'd love to hear you try.
Yeah.
Because, like, what we talked about without the Fortnite terms, I think.
It's the only way I get the only way I get the information is through Fortnite terms, or if you put it in like 80 different TikToks on like your own page, and so I could swipe through it and then learn more every single time I swipe through.
And there's always people in the comments saying, "Where's part 5?" and you have to link it to them. Maybe it's on the page, and they just have to scroll a bit, but they don't. They won't.
Sometimes they just don't even do that.
Yeah,
like I mean, what I mean is like sometimes people don't even have the next part. They'll just be like, "Where's part 2?" And
it was like nothing. 4 weeks ago. Yeah, and you're like, oh my god. And then it's like
through
guys, look
TikToks.
at this. This is the craziest thing I've ever found on the internet. And then they just talk fucking hogwash for 30 seconds. And then it's like for part 2. It's like they haven't said anything.
Yeah.
Like, where's the good bit? Get me to the good bit, please.
You did, yeah.
Skip me. That's why, like, a lot of the time, even now, it's awful. I'll be watching TikToks and then I'll skip through the TikTok.
I will skip, like, I will look at it and I'll be like, I'll see that there's a bar there. And I'm like, I know that there's something.
You can force a bar by pausing it. Anytime you pause it on any TikTok, it comes up with a bar.
Oh.
You don't have to look for the bar.
There's a new lesson.
Yeah, so if you pause it, it will always come up with a bar and you can skip through.
I will have you know that I only ever use TikTok once, and it's while I'm shitting. And the only reason I have TikTok is to post clips and content and stuff like that.
Talking of clips, I'm famous, guys.
We need to end the podcast.
Yeah, no, true.
We need to get this done with. John, thanks for teaching me about the Roman Empire. I feel like I understand it a tiny bit more.
Shields, short swords.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what Anthony Padilla used to say in his videos.
What?
I feel like I understand the world of X a little bit more. But
maybe. Let's not steal that.
But thanks for teaching me, fella. And we'll see you next time.